Hey guys, it's Jones with poolwarehouse.com, and today we're going to teach you all about a sand filter for your pool. From opening the box to putting it together to actually how you use that weird valve at the top that everybody always asks about. Stay tuned if you want a 101 introduction on how to use a sand filter for your pool. Note, this filter is an Aqua Genie pool filter, but all sand filters are very similar, so the principles definitely correlate to other brands that are out there. Stay tuned and we'll show you how to operate your sand filter. All right, now we've got this all opened up. Now, the first thing you'll see is your 6-way top valve, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. Next, you've got this little top cap. It just keeps sand from getting down into your pipe when you're filling the filter with sand. Hold on to that. You won't need it after that, but okay. All right, we've got the base for our sand filter. Set that aside. And we've got the filter itself. It's a 24-inch filter, so it is a rather large filter. Now, looking down in the filter, we do have a few more parts. We've got our manual, and we've got our lateral system. Now, I love this particular lateral system. It's very beefy. These are robust. They don't break that easy. A lot of your other models from other manufacturers, they really put cheap laterals. This has a very high-end lateral system. Fantastic. This is why it's one of our favorite pool filters. All right, that's everything on the inside. Now we're gonna go ahead and start putting it together and explaining to you what all these pieces do and how all this works. All right, we've got this 6-way valve box open. This is the diffuser on the bottom. The diffuser pushes water out and down into the sand filter. It's built onto this particular valve. Love that. Some of your other ones, this is a separate piece. That's not really good. This is the way you want it to come. And we also have clamps. That'll help clamp this to the top of the filter. And it looks like they even included some tape on the inside, your screws. And in this box we have your pressure gauge. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and grab the base for the filter. Now, as I mentioned earlier, make sure you put this where you want it to live on your equipment pad. There are a couple little holes here in the bottom if you wanna maybe bolt this down to your pad, but once it's filled with 300 pounds of sand, it's really not gonna move a whole lot. So we're gonna go ahead and get this set down and then position your filter. Now, you've got some feet. You don't want those to hit on the plastic supports, but just go ahead and pick that up and set it right on top, and now your filter is ready for assembly. Now, we've got the base attached to the filter. We're gonna go ahead and go to the next step, and that's inserting the laterals. Now, let me explain to you what this piece actually does. It's going to drop down in the inside, and you're gonna open up the laterals. These are the laterals. You're gonna open them up, and that's where the water returns through this pipe back to your pool. So what'll happen is it'll go inside, and ultimately, if you remember the diffuser pushes the water back into the filter. All that dirty water full of debris comes through the diffuser, not through this opening here. And it pushes that water down to the sand, and as it passes through the sand, it's cleaned, and then it's forced back up through the pipe and back to the pool as clean filtered water. But that water that comes back is forced through these laterals. So take care of keeping these clean. Make sure you don't damage these. You can buy replacement laterals, but these tend to last a long time if you put it in and take care of it correctly. And that's how it'll look inside the filter once it's opened. Now, once we get that inside, we're gonna go ahead and add about 4 gallons of water before doing anything else. But we'll go ahead and put this in, and all right, so we're gonna go ahead and drop the laterals down inside. And once you get it inside, don't rush it, but take care to open these up individually. And remember, that's where the clean filtered water is gonna be forced back into the laterals and come up into your valve and back into the pool. All right, we've got those laterals all open. It looks great, and that pipe is perfectly centered on the inside. Now, if you remember that little plastic top cap we showed you earlier, this has a slight inch and a half indentation, and that's just gonna slip right over the top of that pipe. And what this does is keep the pipe from moving out of center as you're putting sand into the filter. So it has a couple different purposes. Also, it keeps sand and water from going into the pipe when you're filling it up. Now, the next step after you get this position is to put water in. And you say, well, why would I put water in and not sand? If you dump sand directly in now, you have a good chance of damaging those laterals. They are fragile. So what I would recommend, and the manufacturer would recommend, is put in 4 to 5 gallons of water first, and then start putting your sand in and dispersing it throughout the filter. That way you have a little protection for those laterals. Okay, real quick, wanted to point out, you cannot use regular sand in your filter. Now, if you're buying a brand new pool kit from Pool Warehouse, we're gonna send you the sand that you need for your filter. If you're getting a replacement filter, just make sure you remember you need to use silica sand or any type of approved filter media. So it's definitely not regular sand, it's silica sand or any type of pool filter media that's acceptable for a sand filter. Don't forget that one. Okay, we've gone ahead and got the sand in the filter, and we're gonna remove that top cap. You probably wanna hold on to this. You won't need it for 3 years or so, but when you do wanna change the sand in your filter, you will want to keep that sand from crushing those laterals, and you don't wanna get sand directly into that pipe. So you'll need some method to protect your openings there. Now we're gonna go ahead and grab this 6-way valve, and if you'll notice, it's got some openings. You've got a opening that's labeled pump and one that's return. So water is going to go in and it's going to go out. You want this the same direction as your pump. So if your pump is on the left side, put it on the left side. If your pump is on the right side, put it on the right side. The other opening is also a 2-inch opening, but that's your waistline or your backflush line. So have that live wherever you want to ultimately backflush your filter. Now we're going to slip this opening right inside of that pipe that's on the lateral. Oh, before we do that, I've gone ahead and put that O-ring on, but make sure the O-ring that comes inside goes right on there. And you just slip that right over the top of the diffuser. If you'll remember, the diffuser is where the water is pushed back. That dirty water comes through these holes and is pushed down through the sand. So we'll go ahead and slip that right back in and get it set perfectly on top. The pump is going to live on this left side, so we're going to have our return and send line on this left side, and our waistline will be on the right. Now we're ready for our clamps, so we're going to go ahead and position those on. And you'll be able to see easily how those go. And they come with a screw and a nut for each side. Now what you're going to want to do is tighten this down a little bit on each side, back and forth. The idea is that you're forcing this 6-way valve even harder onto the top of this filter. You want this as tight as you can get it. Remember, this is under pressure, so you want to make sure that everything is secured tightly. Use the bolts, use the nuts, and tighten that down as tightly as you can. Now we've got our clamps and our valve secured onto the top of the filter. Now we're going to go ahead and put on our pressure gauge. Now your pressure gauge comes with Teflon tape. You want to make sure you cover all the threads on that gauge with the tape before you screw it in. Now if you'll see where the gauge is supposed to screw in, there's a plug there. It comes from the manufacturer like that. Just pull that plug out, set it aside, you don't need it anymore, and go ahead and screw that gauge in. Now this gauge is going to tell you when it's time to backwash and clean your filter. So once you get it all screwed in and it's correctly up and down, now whatever PSI it sets to once you turn your pump on, when it reaches 10 PSI over that, you know it's time to backwash and clean out your filter. Now, I would check it probably once a week to make sure that you're keeping an eye on it. When you're doing your weekly maintenance, check the PSI gauge. If it's gone 10 over, you know it's time to go ahead and backwash. Now, before you backwash your filter or before you ever touch this 6-way valve handle, make sure you turn off your pump. If you don't, this is under pressure. You could damage the valve, you could hurt yourself or someone else. Make sure you always turn off that pump. Once the pump is off, all you'll need to do is switch the valve from filtration all the way around to backwash. Now once it's on backwash, you're ready to roll. You're gonna go back to your pump, turn it on, and it only takes about 60 seconds, but it's gonna backwash all that dirty debris from inside the filter out of your waistline to wherever you want it to drain. Now you'll be able to see that dirty water coming through right in the sight glass. Now once that dirty water has turned into clear water, you know all that debris has passed through and you can go ahead and turn off your pump. It takes about 60 seconds, maybe a minute and a half. Once that's clean water that you can see in the sight glass, return to the pump, turn it off, and then you can come back over to your valve. And at that point, you're gonna switch it over to, take that handle and set it on rinse. Now, we just backwashed. Why are we setting this on rinse? Well, when you backwash, you're pushing all the water down underneath the sand and it's pushing all that debris up so that way it can be siphoned off through your waistline. Now that that water is sitting on top though, you still have dirty water up there. You can switch this over to rinse and now it will suck the water from the top and not from the bottom and still push it back out the waistline. So once you are in rinse, go back over to your pump, turn it on. That only takes about 30 seconds. You're gonna clean all that troubled water out, dump it in your waistline, go back, turn off your pump again, and now you're ready to go back to filtration. Hey guys, thanks for sticking with us. If you have questions about an Aqua Genie Sand Filter, feel free to give us a call. Now, do note the Aqua Genie Sand Filter is part of the Aqua Genie brand of products. So you can get a matching Aqua Genie variable speed pump. You can get a matching Aqua Genie salt system. So if you want a total AG system, feel free to give us a call at Pool Warehouse or visit us online at poolwarehouse.com.